A lion walks up to a baby gazelle. The gazelle is maybe a few days old, wobbly legs, giant dark eyes. It can barely hold its own weight. And the lion, one of the most efficient killing machines nature has ever produced, just sniffs it, nudges it slightly with her nose, and walks away. No chase, no kill. Now, a zoologist watching that would not be surprised. But the rest of us? We're standing there with our jaw on the floor thinking, did that lion just let it go? And more importantly, why? Did she know it was a baby? Does that even mean anything to an animal? Do animals actually perceive infancy, not just as a small version of prey, but as something that triggers a completely different response in their brain? Here's what's wild. The answer is yes. And the deeper you go into how they know, the biological wiring, the ancient signals, the moments where it all breaks down in the most surprising ways, the more it starts to feel less like animal behavior and more like a mirror pointed directly at us. Stay with me. Because by the end of this, you will never look at a puppy, a kitten, or honestly even a human baby the same way again. Let's start with something you already know, even if you've never thought about it this way. When you see a baby, any baby, something happens to you involuntarily. Your voice goes up half an octave, your face softens, you reach out, you want to protect it. You didn't decide to feel that, it just happened. Konrad Lorenz, the Nobel Prize-winning ethologist, had a name for this. He called it Kindchenschema, baby schema, a set of physical features that, when clustered together, trigger an automatic caregiving response in the brain. Big eyes relative to the face, a rounded forehead, small nose, chubby soft limbs, clumsy uncoordinated movement. And here's the thing. Lorenz didn't discover this in humans. He discovered it across species, because nature, in her obsessive efficiency, kept reusing the same blueprint. Baby animals share these features with human infants, and human brains and animal brains respond to them in remarkably similar ways. It's not learned. It's not cultural. It is ancient. It is wired deep into the circuitry of social mammals going back millions of years. Which means when that lion sniffed the baby gazelle and walked away, she wasn't being philosophical about it. She wasn't choosing mercy. Her brain was receiving a very old signal. This creature is not a threat. It is young. It is helpless. And responding accordingly. But wait, lions eat gazelles. That's the whole relationship. So what exactly overrides the hunting instinct? That's where it gets genuinely fascinating. Research on large predators has shown something counterintuitive. The cues that trigger a hunt are not just about size, they're about behavior. Adult prey animals trigger a predator's pursuit instinct by running, by moving like something that is trying to survive. Speed, direction changes, the biochemistry of fear, these are the actual on switches for the hunt. A newborn animal often can't do any of that. It stands still. It doesn't bolt. It doesn't display the flight behavior that says, I am prey, chase me. And that absence, that strange, quiet stillness, can functionally disarm the predator. There are documented cases of lionesses not just sparing young gazelles, but briefly carrying them, not to kill them, just carrying them. Biologists believe this is a misfiring of maternal instinct, the shape and weight of the infant triggering the same neural pathway that activates when a lioness picks up her own cub. That's the system glitching in the most beautiful way imaginable. And it's not just lions. Chimpanzees show measurably more tolerance toward infant chimps from rival groups than toward adult rivals. Adult male elephants, notorious for aggressive behavior during musth, will stop and step carefully around baby elephants, even ones they've never met. Bottlenose dolphins have been observed guiding and protecting the calves of other species, including human children, in open water. The signal crosses species lines. The recognition is that deep. Here's what I keep coming back to, honestly. We tend to think of animals as operating on pure instinct, eating, reproducing, surviving, repeat. And then we see something like a lone wolf gently nosing a newborn fawn, or a gorilla cradling a baby bird that fell from its nest. And we don't know what to do with it, because it looks like tenderness. And we've told ourselves that tenderness is ours. But the science says something more uncomfortable. It says that the capacity to recognize vulnerability, to read it in a body and respond to it with restraint or care, that didn't start with us. We inherited it. We are the latest expression of a very old emotional architecture. And when you understand that, it reframes everything about how we think about consciousness in animals. The question isn't just, do they know when another animal is a baby? The deeper question is, what does knowing look like when it lives not in words but in the body? Because animals don't say, that's a baby. They feel something shift, their nervous system recalibrates, their behavior changes, and that is neurologically not so different from what happens in us. Now, this system isn't perfect, and this is where it gets morally complicated. The baby schema works because of the features. Change the features, and the protection disappears. Baby animals that look or move like adults, due to disease, premature aging, or developmental differences, often don't receive the same buffer. Conversely, juvenile features in adult animals can extend their protection past the point of actual infancy. Dogs are a perfect example of this. Through thousands of years of domestication, we selectively bred dogs to retain puppy features into adulthood. Floppy ears, round eyes, soft expressions, specifically because it kept triggering our caregiving instincts. We hacked the system. We looked at what made animals respond with love and gentleness, and we engineered it permanently into creatures we wanted to live alongside us. And it worked. Completely. A grown Labrador still gets the baby treatment because it still looks like a baby to the parts of our brain that are paying attention. The same thing, less deliberately, has happened in other domesticated animals, in sheep, in horses, in cats. Domestication softens the features. Softening the features extends the instinctual protection. It's a feedback loop between our biology and theirs that spans millennia, which means the next time someone calls you irrational for being obsessed with a fluffy puppy or a kitten video, well, they're right. You are not making a choice. Something ancient in you is responding to something ancient in them. That's not embarrassing, that's beautiful. So we come back to the lion and the baby gazelle, and I want you to hold two things at once. The first is that the lion didn't spare the gazelle out of mercy, the way you or I would use that word. She wasn't making a moral calculation, but she did recognize something. Her brain processed the infant signals, the stillness, the helplessness, and it pulled the hunting drive back like a tide going out. The recognition was real. The response was real. The second thing is this: we are not as separate from that as we think. The warmth you feel looking at a baby, human, animal, doesn't matter, is the same ancient mechanism, the same evolutionary inheritance, the same species-spanning language that says, this life is new, this life is fragile, this life deserves a different kind of attention. That's not sentimentality, that's biology, arriving at something that looks remarkably like wisdom. Animals know when another animal is a baby, not in the way we write it down, or legislate it, or philosophize about it late at night, but in the most fundamental way possible, in the way their whole system responds differently, in the way their aggression quiets, in the way something that should be prey becomes for a moment something else entirely. And maybe the most honest thing this tells us is that care, real, instinctual, cross-species care, didn't begin with civilization. It didn't begin with language or religion or law. It began somewhere much older and quieter, in the part of every social creature that looks at something small and new and helpless and thinks, wordlessly, not this one. We did not invent tenderness. We just gave it a name. And the next time you feel that involuntary softening when something small looks up at you, let it happen. You're not being weak. You're being exactly what millions of years of life on this planet shaped you to be. That's not a small thing. That's everything. Subscribe to the channel. Every week, we publish fascinating videos about everything imaginable, from hidden mysteries and shocking discoveries to stories that will completely change the way you see the world. Don't miss the next one.